For 23 years, constant reference have been made to that election of 1993 where Chief MKO Abiola ran against Bashir Tofa in that presidential election. And several views, several interpretations have been drawn out of it. But for how long will this continue? Perhaps it's until Nigeria picks the lessons and translates them into our daily activity and political development. And so to understand a little more from all that and looking at what would have been a presidential era of Chief MKO Abiola, we have his first son on the special interview today, Kola Abiola. Thank you so much for giving us your time on the interview. If your father, Chief MKO Abiola, was to be alive now, this year he will turn 84. And
5, I think.
Okay,
45, that's okay.
All right, so what manner of birthday do you think that would have been for him at that age?
You know, he was 60 when he passed away. And if I mirror him today and the kind of person I don't think he would have been a changed person. I think he would still be very much the MKO we all know. The MKO was a very large heart. But more importantly, I think he will probably be sitting back there trying to write his memoirs now. Because for somebody who has achieved so much as at the time he passed away, you can begin to imagine how much more he would have achieved today. That's number one. Number two, I think with age, knowing him, he will want to keep up with the whole youth, the whole technology thing. And I just can't see him sending a WhatsApp message or being on social media and all that kind of stuff. I can see him do such a thing. He was that young at heart, so I think he would have kept up pretty much. Yeah.
He would have retired from active business and perhaps politics.
Right.
Resting. So what thought do you think he had about that age, old age, when people, in Nigeria today, we have stories of pensioners not being able to get their payment done. People are not really being taken care of at that, once they get off the active period. What thought do you think he would have had about that age?
I think a lot of what you just mentioned, I'm hoping and I would believe he would have sorted out in his possibly two terms as president. Because he has enormous concerns for Nigerians and for people generally as a whole. That's one. Two, I don't even know if he can ever retire. My dad is very active, was very active. He will finish one thing, leave that behind and pick up a new project. And what I think he would have been driving the most is reparations, if not anything else. As a post-retirement project, it would be reparations, because that was very central to his give back to the continent as a whole. And as president for 2 terms, he would have pushed as much of that thought process as possible. But it'd be difficult also to do that in the capacity of president. So I think subsequently would have been something he would have retired to, and making sure that the issue of reparations to not just Nigeria, but Africa as a whole, in the way of a fund or the way of infrastructure give back, would have been a very important bit to his retired later life. It's something he really wanted he championed it's something I can really think and believe he would champion to the very end. So that would be his retirement project.
Okay. Yeah. If he was sworn in 1993 as president, by 2001, he would have ended his tenure if he won the second, re-election.
Right.
And looking back now, what do you think would have been his major achievements as president if he was president?
Okay. I'm going to answer it in two parts. One, what would have been the achievement? One, what would have been practically the outcome of what he had in mind. Now, infrastructure was very focal to him, very key to him. He believed that, look, if you provide the appropriate infrastructure, drop the cost of setting up business and the cost of living, Nigerians on their own are entrepreneurial enough to make other things happen. So as government, his role was to make it easier for you to start up. And he would have spent a fortune on infrastructure, roads, power, rail, along those lines. Number two, education. He was, as an individual citizen, he was the highest spender in education in Nigeria, donating to every university and federal university, scholarships, and not just scholarships, but also grants. He did that. There was a time he gave every federal university and state college of technology $1 million back then. So education was very, very important.
That was a time when $1 is not more than 10 naira.
Yeah. So education would have been very, very big for him. Like he's always said, even for us as kids, the biggest thing I can give you is education. I can't do it for you, but I can make it happen for you. And that is always done for all of us. And by extension to many children and kids in Nigeria. I mean, I can remember the number of, I think every year then in those days, the WAEC or JAM exam fees in Ogun State, he paid them 100%. It's still on record. So education would have been very, very, very important. Housing would have been another. His idea was to build, I think, 100,000 in every state on a local government basis. So housing would have been very important. And the economy, obviously, is really where his strength is. And one of the things he would have done is, number one, drop the cost of doing business in Nigeria, drop the cost of living, and create a sustainable growth pattern in Nigeria. We don't have to export. That wasn't his priority. But for as long as Nigerians had monies to spend within the economy itself, sustainable growth was very possible. And that was his driving factor. Let's do that first. Once we have sustainable growth on the inside, then we can look to the outside. So that's one of the key economic things he would have done. Now, I know him, I know his intentions. With the benefit of hindsight, would he have been able to get
all of those achieved?
That's a good question. And for two reasons. Number one, we saw what happened to the party after the annulment. We saw how individuals left and went to join the system. So even the military government that annulled the election. Now, military is military. Whether it's headed by IBB or whether by Abacha, is still military. So let's mix apples with oranges here. So now, if those same people are the same guys he had in mind to run governance with, then as to he will have to come out being a dictatorial democracy of some sort to really push these things down and make them happen. But we learn.
I see.
So this is the thing, and also the reasons why those things his achievements or his intent to achieve may not have come is because for as long as you get elected in the kind of democratic party system we have today, right? It's an uphill task for you to achieve. The only difference MKO had was that he had the mandate of the people. Now, as to how well we deployed that mandate across Nigeria to govern depends on how well he's willing to take on the same system that would have elected him. That would determine the achievement we make.
That's actually what I, because from listening to you, I see some level of disappointment with the system.
Yeah.
Maybe from what you said, with the benefit of hindsight now, you see that all that glitters isn't really gold in terms of the individuals that are around championing the cause he believed in and all of that. Does that suggest also the helplessness or hopelessness of the situation we have in the country today? Because we still have individuals.
Well, yeah. That is probably why, no matter how, the best candidate will not function under this electoral system. It's not going to happen. And you see, for me, I had the benefit of the tender aid of getting involved, the benefit of running within the party system, and I see those flaws, and I still see them today. They're even worse today. The advantage MKO had was that, like I said earlier on, he had a mandate, and because of that mandate, it gives him the leverage to do a lot more things beyond the party. And I think that's probably why we had the situation we had anyway, to a large extent.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll come back to talk more on how we can get, or change this narrative that we have now, where, according to you, the best candidates wouldn't succeed with the present electoral process that we have in Nigeria. But let's take a step further. People say that Nigeria is more divided now than ever.
Absolutely.
Along party lines, religious, ethnic lines, and all of that. But your father's presidential bid, appeared to show that it is possible to blur those lines and get things done. Now, if your father was sworn in as president, do you see him being able to translate what that mandate he had from the people into further deepening the real sense of unity? Because we talk about national unity all the time. And as many times as we talk about national unity, issues that show how deep the value or the division is, show up. Do you think that your father would have been able to blow that line further? And if you think so, what are the strategies do you think he will have deployed in getting that done?
Okay, first and foremost, you're wrong to say that we're divided along party lines. The party bit is the only united bit in Nigeria. The parties are the only united bit in Nigeria, because if you see the way they flow within parties readily, today I'm PDP, tomorrow I'm APC, back and forth, they are united in their own thing. And that's what we have, that's the biggest fraud right there. What we are divided, and they're pushing to divide, is along religious, ethnic, and diversity lines. When I say diversity lines, even within Ogun State, we are diverse, and they're playing on those things, unfortunately. So that's number one. Number two, the biggest thing we had going was for the first time in Nigeria, we were able to elect a Nigerian. Everybody came together and voted for MKO because they saw him as a Nigerian. It could only get better going forward. It takes an MKO, number one, to have a Muslim ticket and unify Nigeria. It takes an MKO to take on the military because of the mandate he had. But that mandate, unfortunately, is from the people, not from the party structure itself. And that's where the other problem is. Now, so for as long as he was president and he has achieved that, we will not be having the discussions we're having today along party lines or ethnic lines or religious lines. No, my father was a Muslim first and foremost. He went to a Baptist school. He quotes the Bible better than any other person. And I can challenge any pastor to that. The same thing with the Quran, because he has a heck of a photographic brain. So he's as neutral to tribalize as possible. He set up on his own in a private capacity. We had offices in every state in Nigeria, be it through Concord, be it through ITT, be it RCN, Sani. We had an office and an establishment everywhere in Nigeria. It takes a destabilized Nigerian to do that.
Okay, let me take you back to what you said in an event in Abuja last year, June. You said, I am not impressed, I'm quoting you now, I am not impressed with the democracy that we are in today.
Right.
Because it is not what my father and others died for.
Absolutely.
The quote is correct?
Absolutely, I remember
that. Does that now explain the entire scenario you're trying to...
it's always been my position from day one. Since after that announcement, that's always been my position. Because they kept on dividing and subdividing us over the years. Continuously. To the point that we're getting to very dangerous levels now. And that's why I came up with this Association for a One Nigeria initiative. We have to not just continue to see ourselves as ones, because that's where we get our relevance from, is being Nigerian. But more importantly, we have to have a scenario that allows us to own the process, the democratic process itself, as citizens of Nigeria. And that's another thing I'm hoping to achieve, to do this. And the only way we will do that is to knock this whole structure, democratic structure on its head, in line with what the MKOs, the Yaraduas of this world would have done. And that's the step I intend to take to make sure that we do get true equity in the system.
I'm consulting you now on behalf of the entire Nigerian population that feel the way you feel,
right? That
perhaps things are not going the way they are supposed to go through. What would you recommend? Practical ways, practical steps.
Well, I'm not recommending what I don't. I'm walking the walk already. I'm talking the talk and walking the walk at the same time. I am actually practicalizing it as we speak. A little over a month, I launched an app, Tribe Nigeria. The whole idea of that app is to bring that demographic age group, that is 51% of our voting public, registered INEC 51%, 70% of the population as a whole, to come together and begin to talk to each other. To come together and understand that, look, we're giving you a platform for your voices to be heard and your numbers to count. Come together and put that to use and use it to better this country in a very democratic manner. We don't want kids just waking up and have pressure cookers and just explode. We don't want that. We see what's happening in South Africa today. We don't need that scenario here. What I'm doing is to say, okay, you guys, yes, there's a grievance. This is how we can change it. I have been through it with my father from NPN in '79 to SDP in 92, 93, 91, 3 years. And I've seen it, I've seen the flaws, I've understood the flaws. And I think I can help them bridge that by making sure that they have a say and they can elect their own. I can create a scenario with them that removes the barrier to entry, cuts on the cost of politicking drastically. And that way you and I can get involved and make a difference and get our own people elected. So if I'm able to achieve that, then I've fulfilled the last leg of the process. And that's where I come in now. And that's all I want to do, is to make sure that we never end up in a scenario where we vote and somebody comes and wakes up and announces that election for no good reason. Not just that, but we also elect people we actually believe in with our votes. Not a handful of people deciding through congresses or through delegates elections. That's the biggest fraud in the process.
Or even through the court.
Yeah.
Okay. Last year there was something that looked like a more active youth engagement during the NSAS protest.
Right.
And the way it turned out and ended at the end of the day raised a big question mark in the capacity of the young people being able to galvanize and sustain without allowing
sentiments to take
you
over.
know, allowing diversions and
sentiments, yeah.
other things that will make the effort look as if it was ill-fitted originally.
Yeah.
What would be your strategy in taking a cue from that, in what you said, you are engaging the youths more, in ensuring that the focus is maintained without allowing any of these other interests that may spring up along the line to derail the process?
Thank you. Exactly the solution is what I'm doing now. The app is the first step. The Tribe Niger app is the first step. Now, you basically have three sets of voters in that 70% demographic. You have the semi-literate people who vote, but vote based on incentives. You have the middle guys, which are the NSAS, like you said, guys that are frustrated, sick, and tired of what's going on, but don't know how to make that result in a change. And then you have this next set of people that no matter what happens in Nigeria, they're not interested. They're just total skeptics. They don't believe anything will work. Anybody who comes to them and preaches to them is a means to an end. Now, what I'm trying to do is to take that middle and say, you guys, let us speak in one voice. Let us come together as a group. And I would use my experience and understanding of this system to radically change it, to give you an opportunity to make it an end game. That's what your voice and your numbers is what I need. Talk to each other. Yeah, we have differences in Sokoto to Lagos, but we still have a common problem, leadership. Let us speak to each other, and let's come together and form critical mass, and that helps you. I will help you take that to the end as an end game to make the change required. Now, if they come in, this set that are skeptical, and see this thing as an opportunity to run and get to the end of the line, will join in. And then you will see that things will change drastically.
You're relying on electronic means.
Yeah.
And people say that we have a government today that is intolerant when it comes to social media and activities that go on in that area. Yeah. Taking an example from the ban on Twitter.
Yeah.
How do you intend to navigate that? Or first of all, what's your thought about government's effort to check the activities on the social media because of the hate speeches and dangerous materials that are shared through the platforms?
Well, number one, I think as a government, from a national security perspective, all these social platforms must have homegrown alternatives. It just makes common sense. Even for national security, you must have homegrown alternatives. Any country our size, with our intellectual capacity domestically and even in the diaspora, definitely has homegrown alternatives, not even just one, two to each one of the social media. So that's, for me, it's number one. So even in the event that you want to cut out a Twitter, what is your plan B? We don't have. Instead, we're going to an Indian-based platform to do what? And the day we have a confusion with that, we'll go back to Twitter. But anyway, that's a different thing. So that's how I see that. Number two, as far as my platform is concerned, it's a social platform that gets everybody talking. Once we are all talking on it, right, there's always going to, they will always find, people are still on Twitter. That's another thing with this new, unlike the old military days where you just take over NBC, NTA. Well, it was NBC then.
Radio Nigeria.
Radio Nigeria and all. And then you think you're in control. This doesn't happen anymore. And that's why I kind of wonder at times why we still have a Ministry of Information, but that's another because the information is everywhere. You can't channel it, you can't propaganda it any longer for so long. Everybody has his own mouthpiece. So, but once I get everybody galvanized, you can't stop that. You can't.
My question is, are you interested in seeking to become the president of Nigeria?
It's not my objective. It's not my objective at all. what my objective is to make sure that we have a better Nigeria. If from that something else happens, well, so be it. But it's not the first and foremost objective I have. Mine, because like I told you earlier on, for as long as we run under this, no matter how good I am or I think I am, it is very ignorant of me to think I can change it for as long as we run in this system. If this system doesn't change, we don't come up through party primaries and people now dictating who should be what. If you don't change that, no matter how good and bright I think I am, I don't think I can make the kind of impact I'm looking for. We have to, not just me, but we have to have a lot of very good minds who are willing to change. Sort of like what happened in France, in many ways, with the Macron elections. One bird cannot make a forest. Or one tree cannot make a forest. It has to be a lot of trees. And that change has to start from bottom up. And this is what I'm hoping to do. What happens from it, we'll see.
Okay, let me try to recapture your thought. First, you want to see a situation where majority of the Nigerian youth get interested in what's going on around them.
Absolutely.
You want to see a situation where they participate by way of voting.
Right.
And voting for the right reasons.
Right.
That's what you're looking for.
Absolutely.
You want to see when those who are voted for now go ahead to satisfy the real reasons why they were voted.
True. Hold them accountable.
To hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
That's your interest.
That's my
and
interest.
Not just maybe galvanizing followership and then turning it around to take advantage of it. And
like they say, my people said I should come around.
Exactly.
That is not impossible either, but that's certainly not the objective.
That's a fine place to drop it, and we wish you the best of luck as you continue with your quest of getting more Nigerian youths involved in what's happening in the country and better the lot of everyone. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. And to you that watched, we are so pleased that you did. Let's do it again. Thank you so much for watching.